All right. Good afternoon, friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome. The next Mass Cultural Council webinar in our Spotlight series. We're glad to have you here with us today, this afternoon, so let's dive right in. My name is Dave Slatery. I'm the Deputy Director of Mass Cultural Council. Mass Cultural Council is your independent state arts agency, and we are charged with bolstering the Commonwealth's creative and cultural sector. And I'm very excited to welcome you today to our Spotlight series. This is a new webinar series we've recently launched to curate information and build awareness about opportunities and resources that may be of interest to the creative and cultural sector. Today, we're very excited to have you here as we've got Robert Brunn, the Senior Associate Commissioner for Student Financial Assistance from the Department of Higher Education, here to talk about the state's new program to allow you to attend community college for free. And next month, for anyone interested, we'll have the folks from MOT, the Mass Office of Travel and Tourism, back to talk more about the Mass 250 celebration and how the cultural sector can be part of this major event. So before I turn it over, I just have a few housekeeping notes. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on our YouTube channel in the coming days. Auto-generated captions are turned on and active for anyone who would like to utilize that service. You'll find the button to turn that on at the bottom of your screen. And finally, we ask that if you do have any questions throughout the course of this webinar, please use the Q&A feature rather than the chat. We find that things can often get lost in the chat, so the Q&A feature will help us try and get to all of your questions. Now, without any further ado, welcome Robert Brunn. You're muted, Robert. Sorry.
Thank you. Thanks again. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Dave, for the introduction. I am going to share my screen so I can get to my presentation. Let's get to that. I hope everyone can see my screen at this point. I will be talking about Free Community College in Massachusetts, as many of you have heard about it. But before I did that, I thought I needed to at least give you an overview of what the status of state financial aid in our state and what the governor and her team has done in the last number of years to bring opportunities to students in the Commonwealth. So I think you'll find that the last 5 to 6 years or so, there have been a number of programs that have been introduced in the Commonwealth. Of course, part of which has been the MassReconnect, the MassEducate programs, which will be the focus of my presentation, but also wanted to call your attention to other opportunities that exist in the state. In fact, in the last 5 to 6 years, the state of Massachusetts has invested up to $400 million in state financial aid program, and that's direct aid available to students. And there have also been other types of programs that have been made available by sector. We've had the Mass Grant Plus program that was started in fiscal year 19 as a pilot program. And of course, MassReconnect, which came on board around fiscal year 24 with a current year appropriation of $24 million. Mass Grant Plus extension, which also was introduced this past year with funded through Fair Share, which is the millionaire tax in Massachusetts. As you know, the governor has chosen to make those funds available in two primary sectors, transportation and infrastructure, as well as education. And we're very pleased to be able to benefit from that program. And MassEducate, which came in this year, fiscal year, with an appropriation of just under $94 million. So these are the core group of programs that expand to both community colleges, state universities, and the University of Massachusetts. So in effect, just the public sector. But what the idea is to make a commitment to students to fund their direct cost, mostly tuition fees and a book allowance. So let's take a look at the budget language for both MassReconnect and MassEducate, which again came out in 24 for MassReconnect and 25 in this current year for MassEducate. These two programs are very identical in scope, with the only difference being that MassReconnect is geared to students that are 25 years and over, and MassEducate, it's available to all. So you are going to find that your standard 18 to 24 years of age students are mostly benefiting from MassEducate, and when the adult population, 25 years and up, are benefiting from MassReconnect. I should point out that the average age at a community college in terms of student is 27 years of age. So essentially, MassReconnect was really the program that's a game changer on those campuses. And I'm not going to read the budget language to you. Certainly, this PowerPoint will be available to you, and of course, this information is also available on the internet. There have been a number of partners and stakeholders that I want to point out that have really made this initiative quite the go in Massachusetts. Obviously, we have the legislature, we've had the Executive Office of Education, the Department of Higher Education, from which I come to you, the Massachusetts Association of Community Colleges, which is has oversight, if you will, over 15 community colleges in terms of working with the DHE and formulating guidelines for the program, and really serving as an advocate for those campuses. And of course, our 15 community colleges that work very closely with the Board of Higher Education and the department to implement these two programs on their campuses. Let's talk a little bit about student eligibility. It's pretty straightforward. Obviously, we look for students who have resided in Massachusetts. They have to be Mass resident to receive assistance, and they have to have been here for at least 1 year as of the day that they start their enrollment at a community college. They cannot have received an associate or bachelor's degree or its equivalent. And I should point out that the bachelor's degree is more of a requirement for MassEducate, although for MassReconnect, the students cannot have achieved a prior associate degree. So the program, in effect, covers the first associate degree a student is attempting to complete. They also have to complete the free application for federal student aid, better known as FAFSA, or a Massachusetts financial aid application under the tuition equity law, which also was implemented this year. Effectively, what happens there for students who are unable to complete the FAFSA for reasons of immigration status, we refer to them as Massachusetts learners. They can complete the MASFA and have access to state financial aid programs, in addition to receiving state tuition on our campus. They have to be a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident, or a non-citizen eligible under Title IV regulations as approved by the Department of Higher Education. They have to enroll in at least 6 credits per semester per term, and they have to meet satisfactory academic progress according to the institution's requirements and federal standards. How do they qualify? So what happens is Free Community College does not expect the student's contribution to direct costs, and direct costs are defined as tuition, fees, and a book allowance. So any other costs incurred by the student as part of the enrollment at a community college will have to be met through other sources of funding. Free Community College is also a last dollar program, and what that means is that all grant aid available to a student will reduce their direct costs before the free community college awards apply. So for instance, if a student were to receive a Mass grant, which is a state program, or if they were to receive Pell Grant, which is federal, or any other grant aid, then those dollars have to be counted as resource to reduce the cost, their direct costs, before the free community college awards can be applied. Right below that, I took a very simplistic approach to calculating that need. So it's direct cost, which is tuition fees and a book allowance. And then you remove from that any grants or scholarship they receive. And then the difference of that is covered through either a MassReconnect if the student is 25 years and over, or MassEducate if they are under that age. I will point out that these two programs are used on campuses interchangeably. So you may find that in some cases, you may have a MassReconnect student who may get assistance under MassEducate. So it goes back and forth. In some cases, a MassEducate student can also receive an additional $1,200 to help with certain costs of attending in addition to the book allowance. The book allowance is about $1,200 per year, so $600 per semester. And again, that's built into their direct cost. We've been tracking some data at the Department of Higher Education even prior to the start of these free community college programs. As you can see on this chart here, we were tracking students who are 25 years and over from award year 2021-22 all the way over to our current year 24-25. And you can see the growth there, particularly from 2022-23 to a high of 81,263 students, and then a moderate growth of 2,000 just about in this current year. What I need to point out is that the 24-25 number is as of January 20th. Obviously, it can grow between now and the end of this award year. But these programs certainly have attracted many students to campuses. And in a little bit, I'll be showing you a couple of other slides that will illustrate that growth. What we've also done is track those students' enrollment by cohort. So if you think of award year 23-24, starting with the fall of 2023, we measured their enrollment by whether or not they are first time entering college, if they were transferred, if they readmitted or reactivated, or if they're just continuing students. At the start of the MassReconnect campaign, our community colleges reached out to students who had attended in the past, but had discontinued their enrollment for various reasons. We thought that this would be a great opportunity to reach out to them and invite them back on campus. So this number that you see here for readmitted, reactivated are students that were invited to return to campus. And obviously, 866 of them choose that option. And last year and the current year, we have over 1,100 returning. So in all, we have, you can see the growth from 2024 to 24-25, whereas we had 4,500 students in total benefiting from MassReconnect and over 7,800 benefiting so far in the current year. And it's kind of important, obviously, because we still have the winter sessions and we'll also have the summer sessions. And I think that number will grow as we go. These numbers were, again, just for the fall term. They do not represent the entire year, at least for this year, 24-25. As far as MassEducate goes, we also are tracking those numbers, although we're not going to have any numbers for award year 23-24, which would be the fall of 23. Obviously, the program, it's in first year of implementation. So we only have fall numbers for current award year 2024. In total, we have over 10,000 students benefiting from MassEducate on our campuses. So these two programs combined have really changed landscape in Massachusetts in terms of students re-entering college or starting for the first time. And the idea, insofar as it was to entice the students to return to campus and pretty much attend college for free, a 2-year degree at least, has been a success. It's something that both the governor's office and the secretary's office really believe can make a difference. And I think the larger picture, frankly, is that the more students we have achieving degrees in the Commonwealth, the better that our workforce will be served in terms of bringing in skill set to the workforce and enabling the economy of Massachusetts to grow. So these were really just slides that I had for you today, and I hope that they were helpful to you. Certainly, I'm happy to take questions at this point if you have any, and in terms of what we do in our shop here to facilitate enrollment. I can talk to you about FAFSA numbers, those kind of things that obviously are at the very start of the process where we try to bring those students to campuses.
Thanks, Robert. This is Christian. I'm going to read a question we have in the chat. You talked about that Math Grant Plus covers transportation. Can you talk more about that? Specifically, transportation for folks with disabilities is often an additional weight of time and money.
Yeah, so MassReconnect Plus is also available at community colleges. So what happens there is just another resource that's going to be available to students. I don't know specifically that we are covering transportation cost in this effort. I think it's really just tuition fees and a book allowance. Under MassEducate, there are opportunities based on income, family income for those students. They might have an opportunity to receive an additional $1,200 to cover other costs under which transportation would fall. But that's would be under MassEducate and not MassReconnect Plus. But MassReconnect Plus is available at the community college sector.
I'm not seeing any additional questions at this point.
We certainly have time to cover more if there are questions, but the idea, frankly, is that, again, when these programs came about, I think there was a recognition that there were at least 2 million students, adults in Massachusetts that were without a college degree and could qualify for financial aid. And I think that this effort, again, is not just at the community college. The governor and her staff and the Department of Higher Education has seen to it that they make these programs available to campuses, and work very closely with them to bring these things about. We have obviously a pretty large infusion of aid in financial aid, not just in MassReconnect and MassEducate, but certainly these two programs are very targeted at those students. And again, I think perhaps another year, there might be some effort to combine the two into one to remove any confusion, if there are any at this point. But the idea is that these programs certainly are serving the purpose for which they were intended. And we are seeing about a 40% enrollment across all community colleges in Massachusetts. And in the past, in years past, you've always wanted to have a dedicated source of funding for financial aid. And I think to some degree, the fair share funds may be covering some of that and assisting our office to really bring opportunities to these students. I mean, it's not just affordability, but it's access that the governor and our commissioner and our secretary are really after to make sure that every adult, every person in the Commonwealth has an opportunity to access higher education, be it an associate or bachelor's degree, but particularly at the community college sector, we want to make sure that every person that desires to achieve higher education has an opportunity to do that. And I think these two programs by far are achieving that. And the numbers really bear out at least early success that we've seen, and we hope to continue to have that. And so what we do, we work with campuses, president's offices, just to make sure that we are watching these enrollment trends. And but so far, it's proving that that things are moving in the right direction.
I think we've got another question here. Can you talk about whether the community college system provides online or hybrid programs, and whether that would be eligible to be covered under these under the MassEducate and MassReconnect funding?
Yeah. So what happens here, if the program that's being offered is eligible for financial aid, then automatically these programs would be available to serve them. And I think by and large, we're finding that particularly in a post-pandemic environment that schools are providing online access to higher education. So if the program provides financial aid, and again, the state obviously is not the only partner. We have the federal government as well. As students complete their FAFSAs, they have access to a Pell Grant program and other sources of aid that may be available. But the general answer will be yes. Online courses, as they are eligible for financial aid, would automatically be receive assistance from these two programs.
I'm not seeing any other questions at this point.
Yeah, Christian, I had a question, and I can't seem to figure out as a panelist how to type into the Q&A. Just Robert, and again, just maybe to address the elephant in the room, we mentioned the applicability of federal funding here. I've been on a number of calls last week and this week. Any thoughts as to the security of these programs, given the questions that are ongoing right now about federal funding generally for a host of different programs?
Yeah, there are a lot of concerns that we've all been hearing about. I think by and large, financial aid programs are maybe safe to say from these all that we're hearing out of Washington. There was as early as this morning an article in circulation that talked to the amount of funding that may be available to a Pell Grant program. And it's early yet, but I don't know if the program is going to face a deficit in award year 25, 26, but that's at least some chatter out there about that. But schools certainly rely on Pell Grant, and so do we in Massachusetts. In fact, just by virtue of the last dollar concept of our programs, we build in a certain amount of money to assist these programs. So whether it's just really just Pell or Mass Grant or any other sources of grant aid to a student. So if there were to be a reduction in Pell funding, that would have some impact on obviously the amount of money the Commonwealth would have to infuse into MassEducate. or MassReconnect to make up any shortfall.
Thanks.
Sure.
Another question here in the Q&A. With
Sure.
MAFSA, students are questioning if they should be applying due to the current unknown federal, presumably federal situation. Can you talk more about that, Robert?
Yeah, so with MASFA, obviously, again, given the transitions at the federal level, I think there's probably more concerns now. But the bottom line, too, is that MASFA is part of a state law, not federal. So any attempt from anyone really to subvert, the efficacy of the MASFA process application would really be challenge. I would say the least. It's part of the tuition equity law in Massachusetts, and I don't believe that we have much to be overly concerned about in terms of whether or not these students would qualify. I mean, obviously, we're watching any and all development out of Washington, but so far the MASFA application is online, is available for students to complete. And so long as they qualify, they meet the tuition equity requirement, then they certainly would have access to state financial aid programs.
I'm going to do one last call for questions here, either in the chat or in the Q&A. Not seeing anything. I think I might turn things back. We might turn things back over to Dave.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much, Robert. Anything else that any other questions you were expecting that didn't get asked?
Well, but I think there might be interest out there in terms of how these funds are flowed from the Department of Higher Education to campuses. So what we do each year, we allocate a certain amount of money to each campus based on the appropriation that we receive from the legislature. And obviously, we're tracking enrollment trend on campuses one by one. And then we get to revise these estimates as we go during the year. But so far, again, the numbers are really falling into place quite nicely, and students really should just not be overly concerned about how they're going to do it. So it's really just getting there and apply for admission and get in, and the funding is there, and it's pretty straightforward. And what they need to remember, regardless of your income, how much money you made last year or the year before, we're not looking for students to pay out of pocket for this free community college. So it's costs of tuition, fees, books, and if there's no any grant aid to reduce those costs, the student can expect to receive either a MassReconnect or MassEducate grant commensurate with the cost, this direct cost. Because I think that's in the past, people were concerned, well, what if my income exceeds the cost of tuition at school A, B, or C? But again, what typically referred to as family contribution, there's none to be expected for these programs. Simply, you get to the school, you apply, you get in, and then we cover your tuition fees and a book allowance. And again, in some cases, based on income, we even throw in additional dollars for costs such as transportation and so on and so forth.
Okay, well, thank you, Robert. Unless there are other questions, I I want to just thank Robert for being here with us today and presenting on this subject, which we probably don't talk a lot about at Mass Cultural Council, but that's why we have these series so that we can learn about different things. This has been an excellent conversation, and I hope it's of use to those who are able to join us or able to view the video later. And as a reminder, this event was recorded and will be posted on our YouTube channel in the coming days. We hope that you will join us next month for our webinar with Mass Office of Travel and Tourism, all about Mass 250. And thank you all for coming, and we hope to see you next time. Thanks, everyone.